Hey guys, it's Rudy and welcome to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be setting up an Active Directory environment and allowing clients to connect to it via an internal network. So without any further ado, let's get right into the lab. So first for this lab, you'll need to download VirtualBox for your respective host, in my case Windows. You'll also need the extension pack, and you will need to download the ISO file for your Windows server and for your Windows client as well. I'll make sure to link these down in the description. And just a heads up, I'll be skipping loading screens to keep this video as short as possible, so feel free to pause anytime as you need. Now in VirtualBox, we'll create our client image. For that, we go to New. I'm going to call this Client. We select our image file for our client, and I'm going to do an unattended install. So our default username is going to be vboxuser. Our password is going to be change.me. And that's okay for this video. Just click finish and get through the install as quickly as you can and as minimally as you can, and I'll meet you on the other side.
A few moments later.
Now that our client is up and running, we can go ahead and close out of this machine, power it off, and a key point is we want to go to the client, hit settings, network, and under adapter 1 we want to change this from NAT to internal network and click OK. And now that our client is all good to go, we can get started with setting up our server, so our domain controller. For that similar process, we go to New, and I'm just going to call this server. We select the image file for the server, and it's important that under edition we make sure to choose desktop experience, and that's because we want the GUI. Under version, choose your corresponding version. In my case, it's other Windows 64-bit. And I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more memory just because I can. Click finish. Now that our server is up and running, we're going to power off the machine, go to server, settings, network, and as you can see, the adapter 1 is set to NAT. So for adapter 2, we're going to enable that and set it to internal network. Okay. And we can now power our server back on. Now that we're back in, we're going to go to devices, insert guest edition CD image, and what this is going to do is it's going to speed up our server virtual machine. Now we go to File Explorer, this PC, and we're going to click on CD drive VirtualBox guest editions, and we're going to click the one that ends in AMD64. Yes, next, next, install, and eventually finish. And reboot now and finish. Now we're gonna check out our network. So we're gonna see what we're working with. We can click on network, change adapter options, and you can see our two NICs here. The Ethernet is our NAT. So if we click on it, click details, we can see that it's got an IP address. It's got a subnet mask, so this is receiving DHCP from our home server. And if we click on Ethernet 2, you can see it's got an APIPA address because of the 254. So we can close this. We don't really want to mess with them, but we can rename them. We'll call this Internet, and we'll call this Internal. And now that this is all nice and tidy, we're going to go back into the internal, status, properties, and we're going to click on Internet Protocol version 4, and we're going to give this a static IP address of 172.16.0.1, and the subnet mask is going to be 255.255.255.0. We're going to leave the default gateway blank, and here we are going to simply put the loopback address. And we can also use the IP address to the same effect, but we'll use this loopback and press OK. Okay, and close that. All right, now that that's done, we can go ahead and add our Active Directory domain services and our routing service. So go ahead and click on add roles and features, click next, 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 and here we'll select DHCP server, add features, Active Directory domain services, there we are, add features, and remote access, add features, or next. Click next again, next, next, next. And on this role services page, we just want to select routing, and it will automatically select the top one as well. So click add features, next, 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 and finally our install. And once that's finished, just click close. So the first thing we're going to do here is click this at the top and find the one that says promote this server to a domain controller, and click new forest. Here we're setting up our deployment configuration and our root domain name. I'm just going to put mydomain.com. Click next. And this here is like a restore password that we won't be using, but nevertheless we've got to fill it out. Click next, next. It's going to autofill this to my domain, and click next after that. Click next. Next again. Next. And finally click install. Now real quick, I'll show you that if you go to start and we click on lock, we'll just have to go to input, keyboard, insert control, delete, and you can now see that it says my domain /administrator. And of course, if you did a quick install, your default passwords just change me. So next here, we're going to be setting up our RAS. For that, we go to tools, routing and remote access, and we're going to right click this and hit configure and enable routing and remote access, hit next, and we're going to select the NAT to allow internal clients to connect to the internet using one public IP address. Next, and we're going to click the one that says DHCP, as that's the one that gets internet, right? Click next and finish. Okay. Alright, now that that's finished, we can go ahead and set up our DHCP. For that, we go to Tools, DHCP, and we're going to select the My Server and click on, right click on IPv4 and choose New Scope. Click Next, and we're just going to name this 172.16.0.100 through 200, and that's because that's our scope. Click Next, and for the starting IP address, that's going to be 172.16.0.100, and the ending IP is going to be 172.16.0.200, and we want to set this to 24 because we want it to stay 255.255.255.0. Click Next, and for the add exclusions and delay, we can just skip that. We don't want any exclusions. Click next. And yes, I want to configure these options. For the default gateway, we're going to go ahead and put 172.16.0.1, which is IP of our server. So click add and next, and this is fine. This is fine as well. If this doesn't auto-populate it, just fill it out with 172.16.0.1. Click next. We don't care about Win server, so we can click next. And yes, I want to activate the scope now, and next. Click finish. Now, once that's done, you can go over here to the server, right click it, and normally there would be something that says authorize. You click that and you're good to go, but in this case it's not popping up, so we're going to do a little bit of troubleshooting. We're going to right click on DHCP, manage authorized servers, and click authorize. The name is the name or IP address, so in this case it's 172.16.0.1, and click OK. And yep, that's right. Click OK. The DHCP could not contact Active Directory. Now that that didn't work, we can close out. Let's try running it as administrator. Alright, that still doesn't work. So being that that's not working, we're going to do a little bit more troubleshooting. I have a feeling that we just don't have the authorization. Maybe I'm in the wrong account. So let's see. Let's close out of this. And, well, we're in VBox user. So let's sign out. And input keyboard, Control Delete, other user. And this is going to be administrator and change me. Let's see if it allows us to do that now. And voila, so we've solved the problem. Now we just want to go to IPv4 and click refresh. Oh, but it looks like it's refreshed itself and everything is looking good. We've got our scope there. Now we just are going to be connecting our client machine, but first we have to create a profile. So now we're going to create that account that we can sign in with. So go to tools and users and computers. We'll select my domain, right click, new, and user. We'll just use my name, so Rudy Ortiz. And we're going to keep it simple. It's just going to be R Ortiz. And next. Password, and for the sake of this video I won't be changing my password at the next login. Next, and finish. And now that that's good, we're gonna quickly make myself an admin. So right click, hit properties, member of, add. We're gonna type in domain admins, click check names, and it'll automatically underline that, so that's all good. Click OK. And now we're going to head over to VirtualBox. We want to make sure that our server is still running, and power on your client. Now that we're into the client machine that we created, there's nothing special about it. I haven't done anything to it, so First thing we're going to do is go to our command prompt, and we're just going to run IP config, and you can see here we are getting an IP out of that scope from the DHCP server on that internal network. It's just this one here, and you can see the default gateway is the IP from the domain controller, and we can just ping google.com, and everything looks like it's working correctly. So what we're going to do now is we're going to connect to the domain controller so that we can actually log in with any account, as long as it's an account in the database of the domain. So we right click, start, go to system, and instead of rename this PC, we're going to go down to advanced system settings, computer name, and click change. Don't change anything here, but we're going to do member of domain, and our domain is mydomain.com. Click enter, and this is where we're going to enter our credentials. So mine's r.ortiz@mydomain.com, password, and voila, it says welcome to the mydomain.com domain. We click OK, and we must restart, so just click OK. Restart now, and once that restarts, we can log in using our credentials for mydomain.com. So r.ortiz@mydomain.com, log in, and now that we're in, you can see we've got our account right here, r.ortiz@mydomain.com. We can also run command prompt, and you see that this has changed too, and everything's looking great. Now, last thing I want to do is kind of show you in real time changes happening, changes made at the server level to affect the client. So what I can do here is have both my virtual boxes running, and I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger. Input, control, delete, change me, and we can go to users and click on myself, and we can, for example, you can do tons of things, but for now we can just test changing the password at the next login. Go ahead and check that, click apply, and OK. And now if we go back to our client and sign out, when we try to log back in, it's going to prompt us to change our password. Password has been changed. So now that your two virtual machines are working together great, you can practice Active Directory. Really, the possibilities are endless. But that's a video. I hope you enjoyed it. I wasn't sure about leaving the troubleshooting part in, but I did because troubleshooting is inevitable, especially when working with virtual machines. So if you liked the video, make sure to like and subscribe. It'd be greatly appreciated, and I'll see you guys on the next one.